TV, the mic is there. We're rolling already, right?
Over TV.
We're rolling, right? We're rolling?
Yes.
You know, when I became a New York City correction officer, things were a lot different. Individuals were bullied, put in their cells, deprived of some of the human rights that we all believe that we're entitled to. Later on in my career as a New York City correction officer, I ran for president of the organization to change the aggressive acts that were committed by both sides in the New York City Department of Corrections. 2015 is a new year in the New York City Department of Correction, and it's a new year in the city of New York. And like I explained to each and every one of my members, old and new, female and male, what I expect of them as New York City correction officers, to treat people with dignity and respect. And unfortunately, we're dealing with a system that has become the dumping ground for New York City. We're dealing with a system that continues to put the mental health on Rikers Island as opposed to giving them the help that they need, that they may be able to function. We continue to close the door and pull down the shade instead of pulling it up. Well, the shade is up. And New York City correction officers want to be a part of change for the New York City Department of Correction, but we don't want to be the scapegoat of change. There are some correction officers that have done things that they shouldn't do, and they've been punished, rightfully so. But for the majority, 99% of the men and women go to work every single day trying to make a change in this city. We deal with some of the most violent individuals in society. We deal with the adolescents, we deal with the homeless, we deal with the mentally ill, and we deal with those that are innocent and those that are guilty. It's not up to the Correction Officers Benevolent Association to make the changes that are necessary in the judicial system. It's up to the judicial system to make those changes. We're charged with care, custody, and control. We're not charged with imposing sentences. We're not charged with ensuring that people are treated or mistreated. We're charged with treating people the way that they deserve to be treated. New York City correction officers have a very tough job. When you talk about adolescents, I worked in an adolescent jail. It was then called ARDC. And when I worked in ARDC, I always found that these young men had nothing to do but sit and watch reruns of different TV shows. Yeah, once in a while they saw a video, or they played basketball, or they played ping pong, or whatever it was. But they never had any training. They never had anything that would make them productive members of society. We only taught them how to become menaces to society. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we can do better. New York City correction officers want to do better. Correction officers are attacked every day in different papers throughout the city of New York. But they're not attacked because of what we do. They're attacked because of what we supposedly didn't do. We have over 100,000 inmates that we transport through the city of New York all year long. Yeah, some things fall through the crack, but then they fall through the crack in other agencies as well. But correction officers has become the target to those who feel like targeting us. When I took this job as president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association, I felt I still feel and I'm compelled to fight for the rights of my members. And I am going to always fight along with members of this executive board for the rights of our members. And there are those that will continue to criticize us and say, how can you fight for some person that is allegedly accused of a crime? The same way that you don't want to be accused of a crime and not have representation is the same way that they don't want. We talk about homelessness. Homelessness is not Rikers Island. That's giving men and women the opportunity to live in their own home, giving them the opportunity to live wherever it is that they want to live and be able to pay their rent, as opposed to sleeping in the hallway, being arrested, being placed in a cell, and baking to death. I didn't bake them to death. Correction officers didn't bake them to death. It's mismanagement that takes place in the Department of Correction. Every single chief, every single deputy warden, every single warden that you see has been in the department long enough to know that we have been the executive board of their organization. Yet some of them forget that they are there to maintain care, custody, and control. They're there to do their job. But it's always correction officers that end up getting disciplined, suspended, fired for the actions of a supervisor. When is the City of New York? When is the Board of Corrections? When is the Department of Health? When are individuals in the City Council going to take responsibility for what they are responsible for and stop trying to pass the buck? Well, the buck stops here as far as correction officers are concerned. But what are you going to do to make it better for not only correction officers, but inmates and non-uniform members alike? We have doctors, clinicians, lawyers, individuals that have urine and feces thrown on them every day. You don't know about that. No one wants to tell you about that because inmates, out of sight, out of mind. But let me say this to you. Correction officers have a very tough job. And you're not helping by trying to destroy correction officers. You should be helping us by helping to get us the adequate funding that we need to provide. Joe Pont came from Maine. I've said it 100 times. I apologize. He is a reformer. We are reformers. We are doing what it is that we're supposed to do for the men and women of the city of New York. When are you going to do what you're supposed to do as an individual for the people in the city of New York? When are you going to stand up for correction officers? When are correction officers going to stand up and say, you know what? We're not tolerating this. We're going to do what we're supposed to do. Yes, those individuals that don't do what they're supposed to do, they should not dishonor us by wearing that badge or that uniform. But at the end of the day, it's not only incumbent upon us, it's incumbent upon you to do your job as well. Because if we all do our jobs, we'll all have a better environment for us to work in. God has truly blessed me to be the president of this union, and I will not stop till the last breath in my body to ensure that men and women do their job, public safety is adhered to, and that you, in the public, do your part as well. We can't do this alone. We need your help to do it. So I'm suggesting, asking, help us out. Help out New York City correction officers. Help out those adolescent inmates, those adult inmates. Give them some training. Why is it that an inmate goes to jail? Teach them how to tie a tie. Teach them how to write a resume. Teach them how to be a short order cook. Teach them something besides violence. Teach them how to write their name as opposed to how to hold a razor blade. But no one wants to talk about that. All you want to talk about is how correction officers are the roadblock to reform. There's no reform without us working together. Don't blame me for your downfalls. Blame yourself. Start with the man in the mirror. I'm Norman Seabrook. I'm the president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association. Very proud to be the president with members of this executive board, and we will continue to fight for the rights of correction officers, non-uniform members, and inmates, because that's what we signed up for. Thank you. God bless you, and have a happy new year.